The following is a presentation of the Mat Talk Podcast Network.
The mind of Pat Popolizio is a wondrous thing. And for you Pac Wrestling fans, you'll get to go inside the mind of the Skip each and every episode here on the Pac Mentality Pop-Ins podcast. Now, here's your host, NC State Director of Athletics Digital Communications, Brian Reinhardt.
It is a great time to be in Raleigh, North Carolina. It's the 2019 World Team Trials come to NC State's Reynolds Coliseum this weekend. We cover that and a whole lot more in this brand new episode of the Pac Mentality Pop-Ins podcast. I am your host, NC State Director of Athletics Digital Communications, Brian Reinhardt. And after many episodes off of this podcast, we see the return of the head coach of the Wolfpack, Pat Popolizio. Now, you have a new boss, so I assume that's why you texted me this morning, want to be back on the podcast. But Pat, welcome back to your own podcast.
Hey, it's great to be back and great to have you back in the States. I heard you took a 3-week vacation.
2-week vacation over in Europe. Great. But now we're back in the thick of things here.
Your energy level looks really good, too. Good color and everything.
18-hour travel day. Had to drive from D.C. in the middle of the night, but we're here. You texted, you called, you bugged me.
Yep.
World Team Trials this weekend. It was announced back in February. How excited are you finally for this event to happen in Reynolds Coliseum?
Yeah, big weekend ahead here. It's going to be some action-packed wrestling and a first-class event. So it's great to have this right on campus and have everybody come to Raleigh because I think it's a great area for this. There's going to be a lot going on and a lot of things to do in between sessions. So perfect weather as well, too, as I look at the forecast here.
It's going to be great, sunny, hot, nice conditions. And we're going to get into all of that and more. But a couple things, since you haven't been on the podcast for about 2 months here, we got to touch on a couple things.
Yeah, let's catch up. I see you got nice notes written down
this
time.
I really went all out here with my note-taking.
Usually typed up in a nice folder. Now I see we got a hotel.
The Holiday Inn Express notepad came in handy. But
no, that's not from our travel, I can see.
You have a new boss. Debbie Yao retired. Boo Corrigan, he just joined us. Now, Debbie hired you back in 2012, very influential into the wrestling program, has helped you out tremendously. I just want to ask, before we talk about the new boss, Debbie Yao, first impressions of her, what made you, she really sold you on NC State and the commitment here. How was she instrumental through your last 7 seasons here at NC State?
Yeah, big impact. You go back and you look at the opportunity coming here, I think she was the one that helped communicate the vision on what it is that we were trying to accomplish overall as a department. And then, the expectations as a wrestling program. And I think anytime you can find somebody that matches your mentality, I think it's a perfect storm. And that's a little bit of what that was. And, you look at the track record of places she's been and how that's elevated their programs. When she was at Maryland, hiring Santoro and the success and Kerry McCoy had there, I knew that was something we could do here at NC State with the right commitment level and support. And that's, I think, a combination of all that and great assistant coaches and the right athletes and sports info guy stepping up to the plate. I remember that first year,
That first year was a little rough.
We had to write articles. Now look at you. Now we got a podcast.
I said, who is this guy, Pat Popolizio?
Chasing you around the halls. But no, I think that, and the people that she's been able to hire here, they're motivated, hardworking people. And I think it's a great opportunity. Obviously, Boo coming in. There's a lot of great people all around us, and we're excited for the next phase of building a department. And, anytime you have change, it's different, but we're all on board and supportive, and we know that the experiences that someone else has as a great leader, it's going to be the same thing, just keep moving forward. And, we're going to miss Dr. Yao tremendously, and she's been a huge advocate for not just NC State wrestling, but wrestling in general. So that part's going to be tough, but she'll be around, and we're excited for the future as well.
she was a huge wrestling fan. One of the biggest things, she's going to be on the podcast later this summer. I thought that was a great get for us.
Yes, that's big.
But one thing that I noticed, a lot of the former wrestlers here talk about her influence in them, and you might not see that with student athletes in the AD, the relationship with Gwiz and Mock, Tommy Gant, Kevin Jack. They all mention how much they appreciate her going to the NCAA tournaments. How big was she to be around the team and everything?
That's big. Our guys pay attention to all that. I think any athlete here on campus, whether you're wrestling or any other sport, you pay attention to the communication that you get from an AD, and that's what I think makes everyone here special. It's that family atmosphere. It still is, and it just takes some time to build those relationships up. So I'm looking forward to the next phase and building that relationship with Boo, because I think once he comes around some of these guys, he'll see exactly what kind of character they have, and I think that's what makes it easy. When you're around good character people, you want to be around that, and she was great about that, and everybody else is as well. And everybody learns from each other, and I think that's what makes good people be successful. And she was a resource for those guys and a great mentor. So it was a good relationship, and I'm sure we'll continue to have other good ones as well.
And a little bit of housekeeping. Now, you bombarded me on my honeymoon to do this, and I haven't gotten to it yet. But Adam Hall, he got elevated up to associate head coach. We've known Adam. We've seen him on the sidelines. Very high intense guy doing some duels. Just talk about Adam, how he deserved this, and what this means for your program to keep him here.
Yeah, I don't think we've actually put anything out public yet, have we?
No, well, this was it.
Okay, so this is going to be it. Yeah. No, it's one of those things when we talked him coming to Raleigh to coach a couple years back. I promised him if he stayed committed to us, we would do everything in our power to make sure he's in position to continue to grow professionally, and the work ethic that he's put into NC State wrestling on top of just all the administrative side of things to developing student athletes, you couldn't ask for a better quality person. And his work ethic is up there as the best I've ever seen or been around. He can grind all day long. He's here sun up to sundown, and that's why we've continued to move forward with this program, is people like him. And we're committed to excellence, and that was one of the things he asked, is to be promoted, and it was an easy decision to do because of how hard he's worked, and we want to take care of the people that take care of us here.
And he's already doing interviews without going through me on Flow. You can read the World Team Trials fan guide. Adam broke down a lot of the local restaurants. Your thought on some of his selections?
Well, first of all, I've learned to make sure that everybody goes through you. Just let's clear the air there, since we're on our own podcast. I had to take a couple of the places off that he had on there. I told him, let's support the places that support us. A lot of these places donated some things for us this weekend. A lot of them help us out when we're doing different events here. So this tour guide's a little bit of personal liking, and then also people that support us as a program. So we want to give back to them who give back to us, and that's where you get. I think my favorite on there is Cup of Joe.
Big shout out to Cup of Joe yet
best
again.
Best coffee in Raleigh, and I sure do my cause to support them. So stop by, get a good cup of coffee over there.
Okay, well, maybe someday sponsor.
What's yours?
I tell you.
I don't know if we can talk about some of the.
No, we can't talk about some of these
pubs that you like over there.
I tell you, yeah.
We're not in Ireland anymore.
There's some good places over in Ireland. I encourage anybody to go over there. I saw a lot of great inside of the pubs and bottom of the glasses of the pints. So, I mean, it was a fun time over there. But, one other thing, current news, we don't get talking to too much of the current team, but Intermat and Flow both had your incoming recruiting class in the top 20. In wrestling nowadays, a lot of your incoming guys redshirt as soon as they get here. It's a little bit different. But another top 20 recruiting class. How proud of you of that, Mark?
It's good. I've learned over time that those recruiting classes rankings don't really mean a whole lot. What means a lot is the development.
Glad I brought it up.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Let's take Machiavello, a perfect example, and Tariq Wilson, who weren't in a recruiting ranking class, but they scored us a lot of points at the NCAA tournament. So that's really what we've focused in on, is who fits our mentality and philosophy as far as recruiting goes. And we've really focused hard on that and try to get away from any kind of ranking system there is, because at the end of the day, you find the right kid, athlete, and you put them in the right environment, they're going to excel. And that's something that Adam, Donnie, Obi, myself and Kevin, Melissa, everybody on our staff works really hard to make sure we do continue to find those kids. So yeah, it's great to be recognized because it's a lot of hard work on our coaches, but at the end of the day, the development and what they accomplish is most important.
You talk about development just real quickly, maybe not name names, but there's going to be a lot of transition from this past team. I think you're losing 5 or 6 starters.
Yep.
You had a very large class redshirt.
Yes.
How important is the summer here?
Crucial. This past year was definitely a development year. We knew that as we were going into the year, and we did have a lot of positives, but we knew this was going to be a year we had to focus on development on and off the mat. I think we had 18 guys this past semester get above a 3.0, and that's from freshmen. A lot of freshmen. A couple guys had a 4.0. Trent and Hayden both got 4.0s. So across the board, we have a very motivated group of kids. And then it's just getting in rhythm with them and getting in sync, and we are there. And it's going to be a fun summer with training with these guys because they're focused and they're committed to being extremely competitive. So, yeah, you'll see a lot of new faces in our lineup next year. I know that the young guys are going to challenge some returners who have been starters here for their spot, and I think that's healthy. It's going to make some guys work a little extra harder this off season if they want to hold their spot.
And we're talking about this weekend, very big in Raleigh, North Carolina, Reynolds Coliseum, the World Team Trials, both the senior and junior division for freestyle. And I did crunch some numbers on all that travel that I was doing, but you're
a numbers guy.
3 current guys, 7 former wrestlers, 9 guys that currently train at your RTC. There is going to be a very big NC State influence in the team trials this weekend.
Yeah, there is. I don't know when it's all said and done. We go and look through the brackets, programs that are returning the most guys to the trials. But I think we're up there as one of the teams in the country that has good representation. So that's exciting, having it in our home gym, and then shows that, these guys, to me as a coach, most importantly, is these guys are staying involved in the sport when they're done. So I think that's a testament to the coaches here, making sure it's a positive environment for these guys training and that they continue to love the sport and want to compete.
And last podcast, we had Obi Blanc on, and he broke down the U.S. Open. He filled in for you. He didn't get paid or anything for that podcast. So
he got a bonus money.
You really banked on that one sitting out. But he explained the whole U.S. Open process. Can you explain the World Team Trials process and what these guys are fighting and competing for?
Yeah, a lot of this comes down to the end now, having the opportunity. Basically, if you win here or make the finals, you're on a national team. There is true second. So that definitely can play into it. But guys that are in the finals here will be on a national team. Doesn't mean you're the guy representing Team USA at the World or Olympics. But if you look in past history, there's always guys that unfortunately get injured last minute, and they get guys to fill in for them. Joe Colon did that, I think, this past year and got called up and medaled. So it opens the door to a lot of different opportunities. And eventually, you take that next step to go and wrestle and compete at the Final X. So you'll have Rutgers up there where Nick's in the finals wrestling, and then I think it's the weekend after is Lincoln, Nebraska. So, yeah, guys will have the opportunity to make Final X and put it on the line to make the world team.
And you talked about him, Nick Wisdowski. He'll be in the building. He's advertised it on Twitter many of times.
Yep.
But he's not going to be wrestling because he has already advanced to Final X, which will be in June. So Nick, for this weekend, I would say, is he going to sit back, watch 125, and see who he's going to get in that Final X?
Yeah, I think he already knows, the guys that he's got to compete against, and it's an opportunity to watch and see some things. But I think it's also a good training opportunity for him as well. A weekend where he can train and focus on himself, and then as well sit back and watch some of the best wrestling in the U.S. So he's here. He's been on the road a lot the last couple weeks, competing, and then Colorado Springs, and then State College, and then now here till the final stretch of the Final X. So he's gotten in some really good training, and looking forward to his time coming here when he gets to compete in the Final X and focusing in on one opponent.
And I guess we should start with the junior freestyle world team trials. You have 2 current guys. They both redshirted this past season. Jarrett Trombley is at 61 kilograms, and Trent Hidley is at 86. Each a little bit different. Jarrett went to the U.S. Open, got a 6th place finish. So he's going to be in the Challenge Tournament, which you have to win the tournament to advance to the finals. But just talk about Jarrett this past year. Not many people might know him as he was a red shirt, but he really performed well at the U.S. Open. And his freestyle is something that really helps his kind of wrestling style.
I think he's just improving all around. You look at where he came in the high school. This season he had as a red shirt, he's made a lot of progress. And any true freshman, you get your exceptions here and there. They have some bright moments and some low moments. And we've seen that a little bit with all our red shirts this past year. And now you're starting to see that jump of, hey, I'm no longer a true freshman. And he did. He had some really big wins in that tournament against some really good competition. And he had a couple letdowns. But again, we're learning to be consistent. And we know how talented and how good he is and how hard he works. And I'm excited to see him compete again because the more time he gets to train, the better he continues to get, especially having the workout partners that he has in our room.
And mentioned Trent Hidley. Now, Trent won the U.S. Open, so he does not compete in the tournament. He sits in the finals, which will be a best 2 of 3.
Saturday, he'll wrestle the winner of his weight class, who he's basically already seen all those guys. So
I was going to say, at the U.S. Open, first of all, Trent, 86. Was that something you wanted him to go up to 86?
Yeah, we made that decision about halfway through the year, just looking at his style of wrestling. We felt that it was best for him to make that move up, and looking at our lineup for next year, we can move some guys around a little bit to strengthen our lineup. And I think it's a great weight class for him. It's shown that it's a good weight class for him because he's got the power to wrestle up a weight and can focus strictly on technique, training, and it's showing that he is continuing to improve. But yeah, he had a great tournament out there. I felt like he dominated that weight class and beat some really high-level guys, and he didn't leave anybody in the match. So he should have a lot of confidence going into this championships here, and knowing that all he's got to do is win 2 matches, and he's on a world team. And for the level that he works at, he needs to take this and get these 2 wins. He's got best guys in the country to train with between Tommy, Mock, Timmy. Sometimes he jumps up, wrestles some bigger guys, Nick and Casper. So he's got some of the best guys right in the room to work out with. You
mentioned that U.S. Open. He went 5-0, outscored his opponents 42-6, and that 86 weight class at U.S. Open, it was a who of who's in the top 10 of the rankings, coming in as a freshman. So great tournament. Kind of got some eyes and ears on him. But his brother Hayden, we haven't seen him since the NCAAs. He took a little bit of time off. He didn't go right into the U.S. Open because he already qualified for these World Team Trials. And we're going to see him on the senior level at 70 kilograms. What have you seen of Hayden since his NCAA run?
It was good. He needed, we talked about it after the NCAA tournament, and he had been wrestling since he got here on campus. He's been wrestling straight through without any downtime, and we felt this was a good time to he kept training, but we weren't competing in that time. So it was good little physical and mental break for him, but his wrestling's been top notch in that room. He's looked phenomenal. We brought in a couple international athletes as well to train with, and he's looked really good. I'm excited to see him compete because you look at everybody in that weight class, he's been right there in the mix of things with them and has a couple wins over some of those guys as well. So I think he knows where he's at in this weight class, and now we just got to go out and take care of business, and hopefully these guys are fired up to wrestle in their home gym.
And Hayden qualified for these World Team Trials because he was on the U23 team. Another member of that U23 team, a recent graduate, Sean Fowles, he's going to be up at 61 kilos. He might have been up to 180 after that NCAA tournament, but he's back down now, and he went out. What have you seen from Sean? We really didn't see him too much freestyle here during his last couple of years at NC State, but he's going to be in that senior bracket at 61 looking to also move on.
Sean's got a good international style, and I think that showed with him going out and medaling at the UW23s. And it's good for him because I think his college career was focused a lot on weight management, and sometimes that's tough and stressful, and now he's focused strictly on technique and getting better and competing. And he's looked great in our room, and I know he really enjoys wrestling freestyle. And I think that's where a lot of his success came from in high school, as he did. And, he was on a cadet world team as well, and he studies the sport. So it'll be interesting to see. I know a lot of people probably aren't giving him much respect in that weight class right now, and I think someone like that can thrive in that environment.
He has graduated. He earned some academic honors from the ACC and all that. Have you taken him out to dinner since his NC State wrestling days?
I'm going. I got to take these guys all out.
But Sean,
I probably should have taken them out this week so it didn't eat as much. Because I know Adam had these guys over for dinner for the captain's meal, like the last captain's meal, and he said those guys crushed some food. So yeah, they do, and they deserve it. You know, they stay pretty lean during the season, so it's understandable.
I think you owe Sean a nice dinner.
Yeah, definitely, no problem. You too.
Yeah, well,
on these sponsorships we got, you know.
You have been saying that you owe me some food for a while. We're going to get to.
Well, you're busy. You know, you're a busy guy now.
That's true. You talked about development. Internationally, in the U.S., one of the biggest guys that has developed has been Tommy Gant. You worked with Tommy. He got an NCAA All-American honors during his career, but he's going to be up at 74. One of the favorites to make the finals of the World Team Trials. U.S. Open runner-up. Tommy's just such a big influence on everybody when he's down in that room. Just talk about Tommy Gant.
Yeah, I think he's one of those guys. You look back at his career, having a losing record, redshirt year, and maybe that first year here. Didn't even start, I think, his first year here at NC State. And he was one of those perfect storms, a guy that had that work ethic and mentality and just hard nose, everything that you want out of a student athlete he had. And he's been extremely consistent now with his training. Now that he graduated from grad school and he can focus strictly on wrestling, and you've seen him raise the level for himself and our program. And I think it's that old saying, iron sharpens iron, and having Hayden here and having Q here, having Mock here, and now Trent is in here training. These guys all make each other better. And I think that's, something Tommy's helped with Hayden and Trent. And now you're seeing that come full circle with him preparing. These guys are now prepared to compete with the highest level guys when they're out there competing.
Up at 79 kilos, Lee Davis, former NC State wrestler. He went out to the U.S. Open, got 6th place, second straight year in the World Team Trials. He's been down in your RTC the last couple of years. What has Lee brought to the program? He's quietly been building his success and career here at NC State. I think if you look back from his college career and said, hey, Lee Davis, was going to place twice at the U.S. Open and be in the World Team Trials, I don't think too many people would have thought that, but he's been one of the guys that's here consistently working nonstop and brings a lot of positive to this program. Just a great all-around person. And, it gives all these guys fits in our room. These guys all go back and forth. If you're having a bad day in our RTC practices, you're going to know it and you're going to leave here upset. And that's what I like about it right now. These guys are all around the same weight. They're able to wrestle with each other, and they're all different styles. And it's been really good for these guys to see a different look every day. So that's what's making everybody get to that next level. The Wolfpack RTC has 2 guys up at 92 kilos, former NC State national champion Michael Macchiavello, and your Timmy McCall, who's been at the RTC for many of years here at NC State. Mock was 3rd at the U.S. Open. Timmy was 7th at the U.S. Open. Those guys, they go against each other all the time. What do you think about their chances here in the trials? I think everybody that's wrestling's got a shot to make some noise. And you go back, you look, and you watch some film. There's some mistakes these guys made that they know they're professionals now, and they can focus in on it, make their adjustments, and it's a different match when we go and compete next time. And you got to show up and be ready to go, because everybody that you're going to compete against at this level is really good. And I like where we're at. I like the training that these guys been doing. Obi's been running a lot of the workouts, and mentally and physically these guys are ready to compete. And we got to take advantage of being here in our home gym and having a little bit of that momentum behind them. And finally, one guy, he's had a heck of a transformation these last couple of months. 97 kilos, Michael Boykin. Michael was at heavyweight his last couple of years, went out to the U.S. Open, reached the semifinals, ended up in 6th place overall. But he's thrown his hat in here at the RTC in training for these World Team Trials. What have you seen out of Boykin? I think it was one of those, he finished his college career, and a lot of times it's a tough transition when you go from college to the real world, and he did a little bit of that, realized he wasn't ready to quite make that commitment there, came back after a knee injury and really focused on his training, and he dropped some serious weight, and hats off to him for having the discipline, because again, he did it all on his own. Once you're done with college, you got to be self-motivated, and that's something he decided to do himself. He lost the weight, and he's back to his days where he's got some
some good abs, looking good out there. He talks about it all the time. But, yeah, he's dangerous. You know, I watch him wrestle in the room with Nick, and he gives these guys his style of wrestling is very challenging. You know, he's a very powerful, hard to score on kind of guy, and when he wants to score, he can score. And freestyle is a good style for him, having the push-outs and powering through some guys. So it'll be interesting to see him wrestle this weekend because he made the semis at the U.S. Open and then had a little bit of a letdown on day 2 making weight, but I think he fixed what he needed to be ready for that, and he's ready to make some noise here.
And we just went over 9 guys that are currently training here that are going to be in these World Team Trials. Again, I think that's just a number that's phenomenal. But 2 of your former NC State wrestlers now training at other schools and other locations. They're also going to be down here in Raleigh, once again competing in Reynolds Coliseum. Joe D'Angelo, he was a 125er for you. He's going to be at 55, and he's actually going to be in Greco, which I watched Greco for the first time. It was definitely interesting. I just recently started watching some Greco. And Mike Kosoy, he's out at Arizona State now training, but he was a heavyweight. He's going to be at 125. As a former head coach, how proud are you to see even more of your guys still competing at this level, still making these kind of tournaments?
It's exciting, and those guys have continued to evolve and get better. And Kosoy comes every now and then. He'll be in Raleigh. I think it was a couple months back. He was here working out with Nick. He's been jumping around all over the place to different international tournaments and has really elevated his game. And it's been a different look for him, which I think's been healthy. Joe D'Angelo, you know, has been doing great on the coaching circuit. And being from the state of North Carolina, I know he's going to get a lot of people here in Raleigh supporting him. And he was one of the guys, you know, when we were first trying to get some spark into this program, he was one of the guys that transferred here and qualified for the NCAA tournament, so we were thankful for that. But yeah, both those guys have left their mark with our program and now are doing some great things where they're at, and we're really happy to see that and looking forward to having them back in Reynolds.
And as we talked about these World Team Trials, even though Reynolds Coliseum is hosting, a lot of people and a lot of different names have come across and have really helped out. This is obviously a USA Wrestling event, but NCUSA Wrestling has also been very instrumental and is one of the hosts. Greater Raleigh Sports Alliance is always bringing great events here. Wolfpack RTC, as we mentioned, Oak Grove Technologies. There were just so many people involved with bringing the World Team Trials to Raleigh this weekend.
Absolutely. There's a lot that goes on to make an event like this become realistic on a lot of different levels. Financially, probably one of the most stressful, and having, the different organizations step up, and whether it was some kind of physical donation or some financial donation or whatever product they were willing to give has really helped and make this a first-class event, because I do think the venue that we're going to host this in is going to be really good. And then we had a lot of local different restaurants and people donate stuff for our hospitality room and some free lunches and dinners for all the refs and whatnot. So there is a lot of moving components, and the administration here has been unbelievable. Colleen, with what she's been able to do over in Reynolds and clear things out. I know Adina's been working nonstop along with Melissa, Kelly, and Laura. They're all right now, I think, working probably 20-hour days, and it's a lot of it's volunteer stuff. So it's going to be a really big event, and having everything that we need in there is going to be huge. And Will went out, got us a couple good sponsors as well. So we're sitting good right now on food. So you might as well make it over there, get you something to eat.
I would appreciate a meal, but that is one thing Obi talked about. The Wolfpack RTC, it's really just run through donations, and that's something that might not be publicized as much, of how NC State Wrestling, Wolfpack RTC, we need some donations. It gets these guys going to international tournaments, gets these guys moving around the country. How is that for a college head coach working with donations and trying to bring in some money and just funding this program?
Yeah, it becomes, it's one of those where you got to get creative, and I think things evolved as far as what the demands are as being a college coach, at least in wrestling, and now it's resources matter tremendously, and we're thankful to have these guys want to stay in Raleigh and train, and it's our job to continue to make sure that they get their needs met. We just brought some people in internationally so we could get a different look. You're paying for their flights here, putting them up in a hotel for 15 days. It adds up quick, and sending these guys different places to train. Nick going on the road sometimes, and Mock and Tommy, you name it. They're all flying different places. So it's on top of that, you're paying salaries and bonus money. So it's the more the merrier, and it's been helping, and it's showing, and it does transfer over to the college guys because they benefit a great deal when it comes to training in the off season and having mentors all around us. So it's been a great transition. We've been very thankful to have some key players step up financially and give us some good donations, and we're always looking to add. And so I know you got a salary increase, Brian, so if you could go ahead and increase your donation, that would be appreciated.
I must have not seen that salary increase yet, and I keep looking. I'm waiting. But
maybe off this podcast.
We have had a lot of people step up, very generous in their donations. We are always very thankful, especially with the World Team Trials. A lot of this we have had to do through donations. So I know, Pat, you and your staff are very appreciative for people that have given any amount of money. It could be from $10 up to thousands of dollars to NC State Wrestling. Yeah.
That's the key to it right now, is continue to keep people active, people that have been supporting us and obviously keep growing. And we've been able over the last month or two to get some new people that have not been connected to our program involved. And it's going to have a huge effect. Sometimes it takes a year or two to put the resources into play, but we've been thankful enough to have some people step up and help us in that way.
I'm not sure if Debbie Yao listened to the podcast. I never did get that raise, even though I begged. But Boo, if you're out there, if you're listening, I deserve some more money.
Actually, we need to hit Debbie up now. Now that she's no longer employed here, we can ask her to support our RTC.
But Boo, I would appreciate a little pay raise. I haven't met you yet, so I'm looking forward to that. But all joking aside, this is going to be a great weekend. International wrestling, freestyle, Greco, men's, women's, juniors. There is going to be a lot of action in Reynolds Coliseum.
Definitely. There's probably I think we got 4 mats down right now, so nonstop, and obviously some of the best wrestling you get to see in the U.S. when you got all the guys from the NCAA's past history and this current year, and then all our guys added to it. It's a perfect storm, and looking forward to it.
Pat, appreciate you being on. Hopefully we can get you on a podcast before the season starts once again.
Yeah, and if you're not too stuck in the hospitality room this weekend, maybe we can get you out there to write some articles for us.
Pat, always great to catch up with you. Appreciate your time. You're busy. Great weekend of action. Please come out and support wrestling. You can buy tickets at the door. Wrestling's going to be going on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. A lot of action in Reynolds Coliseum. Until next time, Wolfpack Wrestling fans, go Pack.
Mentality Pop-Ins podcast is produced by the Mat Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, go to MatTalkOnline.com.